Hold on.
Representing the year 1777. Specifically, the American artillerymen that held this post in the year, giving up a very hard fight to the British as they sailed down the lake. In front of you is Major Ebenezer Stevens' Independent Battalion of Artillery, specifically Captain Stephen Buckland's company. In fact, 3 companies of artillery were raised back in November of 1776 for the specific servicing of the 104 cannons stationed here at Ticonderoga. Now, these soldiers would be soldiers that served in past campaigns. Many that had served up to the gates of Quebec City, whether from Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, or maybe even Pennsylvania. Some of them would be new recruits, those drawn out of Boston and other places in Massachusetts that would be marched north, arriving here by February of 1777. These soldiers were fully equipped with their very fashionable artillery uniforms by that March. Black coats, faced in red, iconic of the Continental Artillery for years to come, something very new in the year 1777. Under that, their white small clothes, not newly made ones for them, instead captured British stores. That privateer John Paul Jones would capture a British supply boat out on the ocean and bring all these clothes issued out now to the Continental Artillery. Now, amongst these artillerymen, by the time of the siege here at Ticonderoga, would be drafts, infantrymen pulled from the various different regiments to help supplement the artillery. 199 of these men would come from any of the various New Hampshire, Massachusetts regiments. Some of them in their hunting shirts, just a simple linen garment that shows that they're soldiers. Many of them just wearing their very own civilian clothing from home, worn and torn after years of service. Now, while the main operation of our artillerymen is their cannon, they also carry their very own firelocks in defense of their cannon if the enemy gets too close. To operate this, we have down by our left side our sidearms, or to say our bayonets, sometimes a hatchet, tomahawk, or maybe even a small cutlass or sword. Down by our right side hangs a cartridge pouch, where there's a leather bag filled with a wooden block, drilled out with 19 to 23 holes to hold paper cartridges. We all carry these smoothbore flintlock weapons. Now, they came in a number of different forms. That's to say, for the artillerymen, they would get issued out newly made American muskets, just like these. Very similar to British-made arms, but with cheaper parts, like sheep brass rather than cast. Not nice English walnut like those English guns, but instead cheaper American woods. Many of these New Hampshire and Massachusetts soldiers would bring their very own guns from home. They would be paid a cash bounty for fowlers. Fowlers meant for hunting birds, turned them into a civilian shotgun. Some of these soldiers would carry guns from the last war, the French and Indian War. Old English guns put into stores, maybe even old French guns. Many of them would get, on July 2nd of 1777, issue brand new French muskets. Now, carried in the hands of these soldiers would ensure that they have a sound defense on the miles of entrenchments around the great camp at Ticonderoga. Now, no matter where they were made or how they were made, they're all smoothbore flintlock weapons. They have a few main parts. The long metal tube on the outside face is the barrel. That's how we load and fire. The rest of it is wood. It is our stock, so it holds the piece together. And the main working is on the right side of our piece, our lock. On this lock, you see what looks like a dog or rooster craning its neck back. This is the cock or dog. In the jaws of it's a very special stone known as a flint. And when struck at the right angle, called napping, creates a very sharp edge. If you take that sharp edge and strike it quickly against steel, it makes very small, very hot fire, which you might call spark. Back to the full cock. It now rests under tremendous tension, pulled back by a mainspring coiled up underside this lock. When we release this tension by pulling our trigger, our flint flies forward, scrapes steel off the face of our hammer, raining down a shower of sparks. So those sparks flash right into a small spoon-shaped bit, a pan. In there would be a small black powder priming charge, which ignites when the sparks hit it, sending it through a small hole in the side of the barrel, known as the touch hole or vent hole, igniting the powder inside our muzzle, sending our projectile downrange. Now, some of these good old New Englanders wanted to go hunting before the war. To load their weapons, they would do each part separately. They'd pull out their bullet horn, pour in a small priming charge, shut the pan. They'd then measure out a set amount of powder, pour that down the barrel. They'd then put in a wad. They'd then measure out their shot, press that down the barrel. They'd then put in a grease linen packs. They'd have to withdraw their rammer and ram it all home. Loading in this method for civilian contacts might be well and good, but what's the issue with this on military service?
Too much time.
It just takes way too long. Great answer. Well, maybe geese or deer won't shoot back. British regulars definitely will. And instead, each soldier is required to carry his cartridge pouch by his right side to hold 21 of these cartridges. Each cartridge has everything he needs to load the weapon. See, at the bottom is your projectile. Could be a musket ball, size to the bore. Could be buckshot, smaller pea-sized lead balls. By the time of the siege, it's full. Buck and ball. The rest of it's then filled with powder, already pre-measured for convenience sake. This piece of paper isn't just a great carrying case. It packs all that powder and ball down inside the barrel to hold it in tightly. And in fact, by the siege of Ticonderoga, these were issued out by the thousands, equipping these soldiers as they prepare to defend their lines. And it was the job of the artillerymen in front of you to make up all these paper cartridges across the lake in the laboratory of Mount Independence. Now, I'm sure on anticipation of coming here today, each and every one of you have watched as many 18th century war movies as you possibly could. So you guys must be experts. What's the first thing we must do with this paper cartridge to load?
Fight it off.
Fight it off.
Fight it off quickly and efficiently, exposing that powder. Pouring a small prime charge into the pan, shutting our pan, gas our weapon about, pour the entire charge, the powder, the ball, the paper, the buckshot, everything goes down. We would draw that rammer and ram it all home, making sure it's seated at the bottom of our muzzle. And a good, well-trained professional soldier can do this in 10 to 15 seconds. That's 4 to 6 shots per minute. And in front of you are 7 well-trained professional, strikingly handsome soldiers. But what's better than just 7 of us? 8? What's better than 8?
9.
9? And then what's better than 9?
10.
9 and a half? Well, we call me a full person. We don't call a half. We could be here all day, guys. Let's imagine an entire company, Captain Stephen Buckland's company. By the time of the siege, nearly 75 men strong. And imagine now, we're not here. We're out to the west of the Great Redoubt, the very center core of Liberty Hill on those strong lines. There, we're outside our lines on guard. And now, Captain Stephen Buckland himself, our fearless leader, comes riding up on his trusty steed. He dismounts. He says, "All right, boys, the enemy's in that direction." And then each man instinctively starts hearing gunshots, and they all take cover behind a tree. They can hear the enemy, but they don't see them, and they just start blazing away. Did anybody see a problem here?
They're pointing at
We're going to fire into each other. Some may call it friendly fire. In fact, I don't think it's friendly at all. And we come to a conundrum that's plagued armies for centuries. How do you safely and efficiently form your soldiers together for max effectiveness?
Wow.
And in fact, it's a formation that's as old as King David himself. King David had to form his Judeans and Israelites together to drive those evil Philistines back into the sea. He did this by the organization of those men, putting them in ranks and files, all shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow, in close concert with one another to ensure that they can form together. Now, once in this close concert, how they really operate really matters. But that rear rank goes to present their weapons. They may clear that front rank by a safe margin. That's if they're a half arm's distance away. They're more like 2.5 arms distance away. Nothing good may come of it. Now, not only must we pay attention to while we're firing, but also while we're loading. Let's say that young New Englander in the middle rank with the green coat, he is a great shot. When he likes to load, he likes to take a big old step back. He knocks all the ranks around him out of the way, creating disorder, confusion, loss of command and control. To solve all these problems is a step-by-step procedure of loading. In fact, the American soldiers will follow His Majesty's, yes, His Britannic Majesty's, 1764 review exercise. This breaks down each one of the individual steps of loading, create crisp, concise movements that they can all do together, step by step. These soldiers practiced this procedure well before the war, back in their militia companies. By the time they're here at Ticonderoga, they don't need to go through every step of loading. Instead, just one single order to command, load! Each man brings a weapon over their breast, pulling out a paper cartridge. they tear the top on off. They expose the powder, pour a small priming charge into the pan, shutting the pan, waiting for the command, boom! All casting their weapons about together. Now, once they have that weapon down, notice how the barrel's up and away from them as well as the recruits around them. They ensure that even in close concert, they're not hitting each other in the head with their rammers, and they're also keeping that muzzle up and away. Once they're finished loading, they snap right back up to this position, the recovered position. There, an officer or sergeant will know they're loaded, and they'll give them the order to
Cover your pylon!
1, 2. Just like that, they're loaded. Now, just as that loading procedure has various steps, so too does the firing process. Folks, before we get started, can I ask you to step back behind our safety line because we're going to be shooting right there. That goes all the way back to the very corner of the stone. Thank you very much. Now, the first command when they begin to fire is,
Fight ready!
each man fully cocks his weapon. Notice how the rear rank takes a step off to the right, so as they go to shoot, they can shoot past the men in front of them.
Freeze that!
Each man takes careful aim on his target. Make no mistake, don't believe what Hollywood says. They're aiming on a specific man down range. Notice how the rear rank braces their forearm against the elbow of the front rank man. That way they know where each other is for safety's sake. They feel for safety and look for aim, waiting quietly and patiently for the order.
Fire!
Firing their weapons off at once. Now that step-by-step procedure can be done over and over again with the command.
Some goldfish.
Command, load!
They go through the procedure again. Once they're finished loading, they snap right back up to the shoulder position, indicating to any officer or sergeant they're loaded and they're now ready. Now you can imagine firing in open fields like this is well and good, but that's not how the American Army operates here at Ticonderoga. In fact, there are miles and miles of entrenchments. General John Burgoyne would note the sole mode of defense invariably adopted by Americans, for which they were experts above all other nations, is that of entrenchment, fortified walls. Walls that were built 5 to 6 feet tall, 12 feet thick, gabions, baskets of earth that could stop musket balls and cannons. Miles around, from Mount Independence to New Jersey Redoubt to Liberty Hill to the Great Redoubt, all the way to Mount Hope, 2 miles worth of lines would be protected by 3,500 soldiers. Inside those lines are firing platforms, known as banquettes. Those are an area where soldiers can stand and fire. Those firing platforms are only fit to accompany 1 rank of soldiers at a time. Not to mention, if we did fire off all our shots at once, inevitably have a 10 to 15 second gap while we're reloading, and the enemy can just charge across the field and take our ground. So rather than all firing off at once, how do you guys think we may be able to employ a better method of warfare from behind a wall like this? What do you got? Absolutely right. The first row fires, and then the second row fires. Now, after that first row fires, what do you think he should do? Does he just go to the back of the line, give him some moral support? Good job, guy. Keep it up. Reload. He reloads. Absolutely right. Now, they formed on their parapet wall, and to space out their men, they've opened up their files, now making an arm's distance in between those men. They're ready to fire on the command.
Fight ready!
Each man fully cocks his weapon. Notice how the rear rank immediately comes to the recovered position when that order was given.
Freeze that!
When the enemy gets close enough, they all take aim, keying in, waiting quietly and patiently, not firing at 100 yards, not firing at 75 yards, waiting till they're as close as can, usually 30 yards away too. Once they fire their weapons, they go back to the rear rank. The man steps up behind them on their position, and they take aim. When the man behind them is reloading, that man, when he's finished, will tap the man in front of him on the shoulder, indicating that he's ready and he can go ahead and fire. They can continue this as long as needed. It could be during an operation that lasts nearly 3 hours in a hot firefight when the entire field is covered in smoke. It could be one that nearly only lasts 10 minutes, and they just keep up this rolling, steady fire. Imagine not just 6 men operating in this formation, but instead thousands of men all firing off just like this. Now well fortified behind 12 feet of earth, just enough room to see over and aim, firing into the enemy as they're open in a field, creating devastation in any path they may move. Now they'll continue this procedure as long as needed, until they finally hear the command,
Freeze fire!
and they fire off their last shot. They let the smoke clear, and see if the enemy's in the distance. And it's these American soldiers here willing to hold their place in line. Now, on just the 1-year anniversary of that Declaration of Independence written, very ironically, the British Army is ready to take this post. Now, that Declaration of Independence, what exactly is it declared? It may be kind of obvious, but what does it give you? Independence, freedom. Well, let me ask you guys something. Does a piece of paper actually give you your freedom? Absolutely not. It's these soldiers fighting here in 1777, using their very own sweat and blood to write their own Declaration of Independence. Those words on a page which energized these soldiers to hold their post in line in the name of independence, many of them sacrificing to hold their ground so we can enjoy our freedom today. Now, with that said, I want to let you know what you guys can see for the rest of the day. Immediately following this musket demonstration, starting at 11:30, you guys have options, one of which is a garden march. Start at the base of the American flagpole, meet with our very talented pipe and drum corps, and with a musical escort, they'll bring you down to our garden. Once you're down there at 11:45, go on a breaking ground tour, learning about centuries worth of farming and gardening history down in our garden. At 11:30, inside the parade ground, meet with one of our exhibit interpreters. Brian will take you throughout our exhibit space, learning about the art